Hey everyone, today I want to talk to you about the differences between a loss of consciousness versus post-traumatic amnesia in people that have been involved in a post or in a traumatic accident and where a TBI is suspected. Now, for a TBI to be validated or properly diagnosed, there has to be what's called an alteration of consciousness. And the fallacy that I find with most treating physicians is that they will simply question the patient and ask them, well, did you suffer a loss of consciousness? And almost 100% of the time, people say, well, no, I didn't. And the reason why is because if you're unconscious, you don't know it. And so I always feel that that's an unfair question to ask someone, and it's kind of akin to when people are having memory issues saying, well, what kinds of things have you forgotten? Well, how the heck do I ever tell you that? Because I don't remember. So loss of consciousness is really something that I think is difficult, and it's not ever properly asked. And so what I find to be the case more often is that there is a period of what we call post-traumatic amnesia. The brain is a remarkably complex organ, and due to our survival instincts, the brain can kind of shut down and make you forget things in order to protect you. And trauma is one of the things that it wants to protect you from. So when I'm questioning my clients in a litigation setting, and I always ask them this just because I want to test this theory out for myself, I'll ask them, did you suffer a loss of consciousness? And they say, well, no, I didn't. Well, then I ask the question a different way, and I'll ask them, what was the last thing you remember before the accident? And I was, I was gripping my wheel saying, oh my God, I'm going to die. And I said, okay, well, then what was the very next thing you remember? Well, the lady that hit me was tapping on my window and asking me, are you okay? Well, obviously from that phrase, there is a sliver of time that person cannot account for. And that's post-traumatic amnesia, because it is a forgetfulness of the immediately preceding events in an effort to protect the person. So that's why I always ask it that way. Now, it can affect immediate recall even after the person, kind of comes to or begins to get treatment and things like that. There are going to be events that they can't remember. In a litigation setting, that's very difficult because when a person is, let's say, in a deposition and they're being asked about all these things and they can't remember, then it appears as though they're either malingering or that there's some sort of secondary gain, that they're, just trying to get money or whatever. And that's really not the case. It's that their brain doesn't have the ability to recall those kinds of things. So it's very important to separate out those two concepts and focus on the post-traumatic amnesia, because I have actually found that clients of mine that have reported that they did not sustain a loss of consciousness, I've actually gone back and gotten 911 tapes of the accident scene where the first responders are recorded saying, there's a person that's unconscious in this car. And yet my client, who was unconscious, said they didn't suffer a loss of consciousness. So be aware of that, because if you have a loved one that you suspect is acting erratically and you think this could have happened subsequent to a trauma, it might be important to ask the question the way I have illustrated this morning, so that you can begin to delve into some of the intricacies of what they're capable of and what they're not capable of. And by asking for the facts in a certain way, it can lend insight as to what really occurred in the trauma. I sure hope this video helps, and I will talk to you again soon. Thank you.